My sister told me not to come to the gala cause my jungle job didn't fit the champagne vibe, so I pulled my money. No valet, no food, no power. My dad called me childish, from a dark ballroom with crackers. The call came at noon on a Thursday, just as I was bandaging the leg of a fox that had tried to outrun a barbed fence. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I saw my sister's name flash across the screen. Part of me already knew what was coming. "Hey Zara," she said, voice syrupy sweet, the way it always got when she wanted something or had something nasty to say. "Hey, Ava, what's up?" A pause. "Listen, about the gala. It's going to be a very upscale affair this year. Dad's hosting some major names from the city council, the investment firm's board, and, well, you know how that goes." I didn't say anything, just waited. "We've decided it might be best if you sat this one out," she finally blurted. I stared out at the trees swaying outside the field clinic, the quiet buzz of cicadas filling the silence. "It's not personal," she added quickly, "it's just your job. It's messy. You always show up with boots and dirt and, well, calloused hands don't really pair well with champagne flutes. So, I'm unpresentable?" I asked flatly. There was a beat. "Look, Zara, it's about optics, okay," she said, and I could practically hear her rolling her eyes. "You spend your days with wild animals and, I don't know, jungle diseases. It's not exactly the vibe." I didn't bother to respond. Later that evening, Mom called. She always played cleanup after Ava lit the match. "Sweetheart, it's not that we don't want you there," she began. "It's just, these events are delicate. We had to make cuts to the guest list. It's a space thing, you understand." I could hear the lie in her voice. The same tone she used when she told me Dad was just busy every time he skipped my college graduation, or my birthday, or that one time I got dengue in the Amazon and no one called to check in. "It's fine," I said. "Oh honey, don't be like that. You know we love you." "Yeah, I know." When the call ended, I sat in silence for a few minutes, then opened my laptop. 3 emails later, the luxury car service was cancelled. Then the catering team. Then the venue payment, scheduled on auto-renew under my account, got revoked. They never knew I handled those things. Ava was too busy bragging about the family brand to realize that her fancy party ran on invoices I signed. Dad hadn't written a check for his own gala in 4 years. I didn't send a message. I didn't raise my voice. I just pulled the plug. That night, I repacked the first aid kits from my last mission and rolled up the tent I'd borrowed from the UN team. As I zipped the bag closed, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Not anger, not even sadness, just relief. The kind you get when you finally stop pretending you're welcome somewhere you never were. New Year's Eve came in like a thunderstorm, glitter, headlines, a guest list stuffed with surnames that meant something in the financial world. Ava's voice had been all over social media for weeks. "Can't wait to ring in 2025 at the Halbert Gala," she'd posted on Instagram, smiling in a gold dress that probably cost more than my yearly clinic budget. The caption had a sparkle emoji and a tag for some niche perfume brand. And then it started. At 6:30 sharp, the first whisper surfaced. A guest posted on Threads, "No valet at Halbert Gala? Walked 3 blocks in heels. Unacceptable." At 7, the caterer called Ava's assistant and told her the check had bounced 3 times. The head chef packed up the truffle lobster sliders and walked out the back door, muttering something about being tired of rich people who didn't know how contracts worked. By 8:15, the venue lights flickered, then died completely. "Is this some kind of moody lighting thing?" one of the guests asked. But no, it wasn't a theme. The Halbert estate was dark because the payment for the event's temporary power grid had been revoked the morning before. Dad, red in the face, pulled Ava aside. "Fix it," he snapped. "We've got city councilors in there." I just saw James Alcott holding a flashlight. "I'm trying," Ava hissed, jabbing at her phone. "None of the vendors are answering. Zara's the one who booked them." That's when I pulled up. Not for drama. Not to gloat. Just to drop off a few boxes of donated medical supplies, gauze, antibiotics, rehydration kits, things I'd promised to pass along to the nonprofit that had supported me during my last rotation in Senegal. I didn't wear a dress. I didn't come to make a statement. I wore jeans and a hoodie, mud still drying on the cuffs from a remote field trek 2 days earlier. I didn't even make it to the front door before one of the security guys blocked me. "Sorry, ma'am, private event." "I know," I said, lifting the small package of meds. "I'm just here to deliver something." He took one look at the box, then glanced over at Ava, who was yelling into her phone on the front steps. She saw me. Her expression twisted, surprise, then annoyance. "Zara? What are you doing here?" she called. "Dropping off something I forgot to send earlier." She didn't even come down the steps. Just waved me off. "Leave it with him. I'm kind of dealing with a crisis." I handed the box over. "Yeah, I noticed." She turned back to her phone. "No, not you," she barked into the receiver. "I need you to get someone on site. Do you understand me? I am not going to let my father's name get dragged through the mud because one girl with a jungle fetish decided to cut corners." I stood there for a second. Then I turned and walked away. No fireworks. No closure. Just the sound of my boots crunching down the gravel path as the Halbert's golden night fell apart behind me. I spent New Year's Day alone in my flat, sipping lukewarm coffee from a chipped mug and watching fog roll past the window. The Halbert's Gala was already trending under the hashtag #GalaFail2025. Someone had posted a blurry video of my dad yelling at a staffer while Ava tried to charm a guest with a dying phone flashlight. Power outage and finger food. So avant-garde, one caption read. I didn't laugh. I just stared at the screen and thought, this is what it takes to be seen. The silence in my apartment was thick. No calls. No apologies. Just quiet. I opened my laptop and started going through files. It wasn't intentional at first, just habit. But one by one, I pulled up every login I'd ever created for them. The catering contracts, the chauffeur account, the event planner's platform, the family's cloud subscription that held their gala slide decks and photos from every year, all under my name, all paid with my cards. 5 years ago, I offered to help streamline things, because Dad couldn't remember passwords and Ava didn't like filling out forms. And like a fool, I took it all on, automating payments, managing bookings, reminding them when things were due. I thought I was being useful, indispensable, even. Now I saw it for what it was. Invisible labor, silent servitude dressed up as family loyalty. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. And just like that, the memories started to pour in. The time I sold my first car to cover Ava's college tuition shortfall after she blew her budget on spring break in Santorini. The time I flew home early from a mission in Guatemala because Dad said it wouldn't look right if I missed Mom's charity brunch. I arrived 2 hours before the event. No one even asked how my trip had gone. The Christmas when I spent the entire day assembling a 10-foot tree by myself while Ava complained about pine needles and Dad made jokes about me being handy like the help. And then, the worst one. A dinner last year. Quiet, forgettable, until Dad looked at me over his wine glass and said, honestly, Zara, you're like the family's charity project. Always out there doing your little missions. Good for PR, I suppose. I didn't say anything that night, just smiled politely and changed the subject. But the words stuck, and now, they were ringing like a bell. I opened my email, clicked into the family's shared billing folder, and one by one, deleted my access. Unlinked my cards. Logged out of the Halbert Group's admin dashboard, disabled the shared calendar that I alone had updated for 6 years. Every click felt like a tiny exhale. Then I opened my personal finance tracker. For the first time in a decade, every recurring payment was mine. Just mine. No gala fees. No florist pre-orders. No surprise charges from Ava's favorite event designer in Manhattan. The silence in the apartment shifted. This time, it didn't feel empty. It felt like mine. The Halbert house was in full crisis mode by midday. The first text came from Mom. Zara, sweetheart, can you call me? It's urgent. I ignored it. An hour later, Ava called, 5 times in a row. I watched her name flash on my screen while I poured antiseptic into a gash on a hiker's leg. I was back on duty, up north with a search and rescue team outside Bend, Oregon. A man had slipped down a ravine while geocaching. That's where I was when the Halbert empire crumbled, elbow-deep in blood, dirt, and purpose. By the time I took a break and checked my phone, the damage was done. Guests had started leaving the gala by 9. Half of them never even made it past the front gate once the backup valet bailed. A city councilwoman stormed off when the bathroom trailers didn't show up. The gourmet menu had devolved into cold crackers and whatever cheap wine was left in the pantry. And the press? Oh, they loved it. A lifestyle blog ran a headline, The Halberts, when old money can't pay the power bill. A gossip account shared a clip of Ava yelling at someone off camera, lipstick smeared, eyes frantic. Is she okay? One commenter asked. Rich girl meltdown at midnight, replied another. They didn't know the half of it. Dad tried pulling strings. He called in favors from donors, whispered about sabotage, hinted at electrical malfunctions. But it didn't matter. He couldn't untangle the mess because the contracts were in my name. The authorizations were mine. He could shout all he wanted. No one else could sign a release form, let alone fix what had unraveled. Mom left me 9 voicemails in one day. The last one was barely a whisper. I know you're hurt, but this isn't the way to handle things. As if there had ever been another way. Ava, on the other hand, went full tilt. Her texts got longer, less polite, and more desperate. You think this proves something? That you have power? You're sabotaging your own family. You have no idea what this has cost us. But I did know. It had cost them access, dependence, the illusion that I'd always be there to hold up the scaffolding. Now that it was gone, they had to stand on their own. And it showed. That night, I was in the back of a medical chopper, wrapping a thermal blanket around the hiker we'd just airlifted. His breathing was shallow, but stable. My face was caked in sweat and grime, but I didn't care. I looked down at my hands, scarred, calloused, absolutely unpresentable. And still, I smiled. As the helicopter cut across the ridge, my phone buzzed again in my jacket pocket. Another call from Ava, then Mom, then unknown numbers. I didn't answer. I didn't even check the notifications. Instead, I focused on the man in front of me, on the sound of the engine, on the steady rhythm of the heart monitor. Because while the Halberts were panicking in a dark ballroom, trying to salvage a party that had imploded without its hidden architect, I was here, doing work that mattered. They could have kept me, celebrated me. Instead, they tried to erase me, so I erased myself, and for the first time, they felt it. I woke up the next morning to a gray-blue dawn and the dull ache of adrenaline withdrawal. The rescue chopper had landed just before midnight, and I'd collapsed into a cot at the ranger station without even changing out of my boots. When I finally checked my phone, it was glowing like a live wire. 37 missed calls, 14 voicemails, dozens of messages. Some were angry, some pleading, some tried to gaslight me into thinking I'd overreacted. Mom, you didn't have to make a scene. This could have been a conversation. Ava, this is on you. Zara, you chose to walk away. Don't act surprised now that people notice. Dad, what you did was childish. We trusted you. I expect a call, today. But one message stopped me cold. It was from Ellie, Ava's daughter, my niece. Ellie, 7:03 a.m. I missed you last night. It wasn't the same without you. Beneath it, a tiny red heart. I stared at the screen for a long time. The words weren't grand. They weren't performative. They were just real. I hit reply and sent back a heart emoji. Nothing more. That was all I could give her right now. The next call came an hour later. Dad. I shouldn't have answered, but something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe closure, said pick up. His voice came in sharp, like he was already mid-sentence. You embarrassed this family, he barked. Do you have any idea the damage you've done? I didn't say anything, just let the silence stretch. You think you're some kind of martyr now? He spat. Because you turned off the lights? Because you let the press humiliate us? I didn't let the press do anything, I said calmly. I just stopped protecting you. You want to play victim? Fine. But don't come crawling back when this righteous streak runs dry. I took a deep breath. I'm not the one who treated family like a utility. You made it clear who mattered. You didn't want me there? Now you know what it's like without me. You think we need you? He snapped. I smiled to myself. I know you did. That's why you're calling. There was a pause. A long one. I could hear him breathing, could imagine the red in his face, the way his jaw clenched when things slipped out of his control. Then, a click. He hung up. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, until the call screen went dark. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just felt still. Not numb, not detached, just still. Outside, the first flakes of snow were falling, the sky low and pale, the wind brushing against the window like a whisper. I turned off my phone, slid it into the pocket of my coat. Then I stood, pulled on my boots, and stepped into the cold. By the end of the week, I was trending, and not for anything I'd done on purpose. It started with a tweet, just one. At NY Gala Insider, word is, the Halbert Gala implosion happened because the jungle medic daughter pulled the plug. If that's true, I need her memoir yesterday. And then it spread like wildfire. Someone leaked a vendor invoice, with my name at the bottom. Then an old gala photo resurfaced, one from 3 years ago, showing me in muddy boots next to a stack of event supplies, while Ava smiled for the camera nearby, champagne in hand. The caption? Apparently the disgrace was the one holding it all together. I had no idea who leaked it. Maybe a pissed-off planner. Maybe someone inside the house with a conscience. But suddenly, I had a title, The Jungle Medic Heiress. Not my choice. But it stuck. A podcast I'd never heard of called me the quiet backbone of a legacy brand. A freelance journalist reached out to discuss a possible human interest profile, perhaps a modern-day Cinderella with boots. I ignored them all, until the emails changed. An NGO I once partnered with, one that usually had no budget for publicity, asked if I'd consider co-leading a new initiative in Kenya. They had donors now, and apparently I had visibility. Then came a message from a small but respected documentary team. Subject line, we want to follow you, not the fallout. I almost deleted it, but something about the body of the message stopped me. We're not interested in your family. We're interested in what you do when no one's watching. The real work, the forgotten stories. We think the world should see it. I read it twice, then set it aside. Back home, Ava was in PR freefall. She tried spinning the story, told a columnist that there had been a minor accounting glitch and some unfortunate miscommunications with support staff, but the damage was done. You can't rewrite a collapse that happened in real time, especially when receipts, literal receipts, were making the rounds. One journalist somehow got their hands on an internal invoice that listed every recurring vendor payment for the gala, dating back 5 years. My name, my account, my initials in the contract fields. It didn't take long for the internet to figure out that the Halbert brand hadn't just included me, it had depended on me. Comments rolled in. So she got excluded for being uncivilized, but she was paying the bills? This is next-level rich kid karma. She went full stealth mode. I would absolutely die for the jungle medic girl. Where's her TED Talk? I wasn't looking for vindication, but it found me anyway. Not because I screamed, not because I burned bridges, but because when they tried to silence me, I vanished, and everything fell apart in the echo. The offers kept coming. Sponsorships, profiles, a fellowship, even an invite to speak at a climate summit in Portugal. I didn't say yes to any of them. Not yet. I wasn't doing this for a spotlight. I never had, but I also wasn't going to hide. So I made a new folder on my desktop, next mission, my terms. That night, I unzipped my gear bag and started packing supplies. Saline, antiseptics, an old field journal with pages warped from rain. As I zipped it shut, my phone lit up again. Another offer. And beneath it, a text from Ellie. Ellie, I saw a picture of you online. You looked like a superhero. I didn't reply right away. Just stared at the screen and smiled. Not because I was proud of what happened, but because for once, I wasn't ashamed. It had been 3 weeks since the Gala collapsed. Since then, I'd been stationed in a rural pocket of Costa Rica, working with a mobile clinic that hiked gear over footbridges and treated infections with whatever we could salvage from heat-warped supply crates. My days were long, humid, real, and quiet, in the way the rest of my life never had been. Then, one afternoon, a jeep rolled up the trail behind the station. I was midway through cleaning a dressing when I heard the engine stall, sputter, and then go silent. The nurse beside me glanced up. Expecting someone? I shook my head. Not even slightly. I stepped out into the clearing, shielding my eyes against the sun. She stood there, sunburnt, sweating, clearly exhausted. Ava. She wore hiking boots that didn't belong to her and khaki shorts that looked like they came from a travel blogger's discarded wardrobe. Her face was blotchy, hair pulled into a lopsided braid. She was still beautiful, still Ava, but not the Ava I remembered. Not the one who weaponized optics. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just said one thing. Is there somewhere we can talk? I motioned to the shade beneath a thatched awning near the station's mess table. She followed, dragging her duffel behind her like it was filled with stones. We sat. She looked around, at the canvas tents, the scattered medical packs, the flies. This is it? She asked quietly. This is it. No sarcasm, no scoff, just a kind of bewildered respect. She stared at her boots for a long moment, then finally spoke again. How do you do it? I raised an eyebrow. Do what? This, she said, gesturing around. Live like this. Work like this. Be okay with people not seeing it. I leaned back, studying her. They see it, just not the people you used to think matter. She swallowed hard, looked away. A long silence stretched between us. Then I stood, walked into the back tent, and returned with a pair of well-worn work gloves and an extra pair of socks, the thick, wool kind that hold up in the wet season. I don't have answers, I said, handing her the bundle, but I've got gear. She took it with both hands, looking stunned. Are you serious? Can't have you passing out in those knockoff boots. We've got a heat rash clinic hike in the morning. 4 miles in, 4 miles out. A pause. Then, softly, I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. I shrugged. Neither did I. Turns out, peace doesn't need an RSVP. That night, we ate lentils and rice beneath a canopy of stars, perched on overturned crates, a field lamp buzzing nearby. No speeches, no apologies, just silence. The kind that doesn't demand closure, only presence. Ava didn't ask for forgiveness, and I didn't offer any. But when she laughed, genuinely, lightly, without her usual filter, something inside me eased. As we cleaned our plates, my phone buzzed from inside the medical tent. I checked it later, after she'd gone to bed. 3 new messages. One from the NGO, confirming the Kenya partnership, approved. One from the documentary crew, they were ready to follow my next mission, under my terms. And one from Ellie, just a photo this time, her wearing a toy stethoscope, captioned, Dr. Zara. I looked up at the night sky and smiled. I didn't need to be part of their world, I had built my own. And somehow, they were starting to find their way to mine.